All right. Garth Ennis. What a name. Garth. Garth. That's a pretty groovy name, Garth Ennis. Garth Ennis, he had a quote somewhere saying that superheroes were power fantasies for 12-year-old boys, which is kind of funny because Garth Ennis is really obsessed with power fantasies for 13-year-old boys, his own character, Billy Butcher, in The Boys, and The Punisher. Well, he didn't make The Punisher, but he sort of reinvented the character, because like in the 70s, Punisher was sort of like this very manic, sort of law and order sort of type. Then in the 80s, when they start making him more of the Marvel roster, becomes a sort of anti-hero sort of guy, not necessarily uh, the law is the law, just more so, you know what I mean. And he's still like he's still like capable of like development. He's still like a character at this time. There's an issue of Frank Miller's Daredevil. I think Frank Miller wrote it. This was before Frank Miller went fucking insane, but even then, like The Dark Knight Returns is overrated as fuck. But I have always digged Frank Miller's Daredevil. And then there's the one issue where Punisher is just shooting a bunch of I guess like soldiers of some drug gang or whatever, and this one guy surrenders. He's like, okay, I surrender, don't shoot. Then Punisher just fucking shoots him, and then Punisher finds out the kid working for them. It turns out the soldier or whatever was a 16-year-old kid, and Punisher starts crying, and it only makes him more angry. And it makes him, only like more bloodthirsty to go after this gang. That's sort of my favorite interpretation of the Punisher character. Like, yes, he's like this very cold, calculating, hardened guy, but it's like he still has like times where he could get emotional. Like there's plenty of issues in the '90s where Frank Castle has like a mental breakdown. Like that's always been sort of the most compelling version of the Punisher. Whereas a lot of times now it just feels so. I think that Garth Ennis reinvented Punisher, and probably just this very bland sort of character, just very bland. You have the 2000s run, which you know you have to understand, like 2000s Marvel. This was like, okay, we're going to sort of reinvent every character, not this fucking like Todd McFarlane 90s shit or Rob Liefeld where you go like where the art is just a big clusterfuck. No, we're going to give it a nice clear look. Okay, we're some sort of not reboot but reinvent the characters. Okay, it's like in the '90s there was this butt ugly version of Thor. Let's fucking stop that. So Garth Ennis sort of makes Punisher as this very just sort of silent kind of character, like this, says the occasional quip. But that's sort of it. Just the strong silent type, and that's kind of it. But there is sort of a charm with that, like I actually do sort of like those Garth Ennis Punisher books because it's just like a very strong, silent sort of character, not really a character who develops or whatever, but kind of goes into these different sort of scenarios. To me, that is pretty interesting. But on the downside, it's like yeah, that's probably why like a lot of douchebags sort of LARP with the Punisher sort of icon. They don't because at least like in the '80s interpretation of the character, it's like at least like even if it was Chuck Dixon, some cranky fucking boomer, uh, writing with this goofy fucking power fantasy, at least there was some sort of character. At least there was some sort of like, okay, this is like we shouldn't live in a society that sort of push the Punisher to becoming a thing. Whereas now there's all these like suburban guys just want to be the Punisher so fucking bad, and it's pretty fucking cringe. But yeah, it's he's not really a character that develops, but he is an interesting sort of guy. I'm repeating myself, but yeah. So anyway, Punisher Max, the first run guy, Garth Ennis, not guy, Garth Ennis did was pretty good. The other Punisher Max from different writers, some of them are just fucking garbage, like Little Black Box or Little Black Book or whatever. Fucking that issue is so fucking garbage because it just ends with one of the with some chick like she's traumatized, so she tries to take a car. She points the gun at a car, and then some guys get out of the fucking car. It's just random. These guys aren't part of any like gang or operation. It's just then these random guys come out of the car. They're all pissed off, and then they just like gang rape her. It's so like this is like really cringy shit. And then and then Punisher saves her, of course, and she like narrates that does the animal analogy thing, which is such. But look, it's not lazy writing, but it's like when you do it so much in fucking comic books, it's like stop it. Where she's like, uh, where Punisher is shooting, he's like, the lion protects me, the sheep from the wolves, and it's like, God, this is so fucking tacky. But anyway, let's talk about Garth Ennis's Punisher book. Um, it's all right. It's okay. It's not perfect. There's like a lot of hypocrisy with this sometimes. It's like on one hand, it is a very entertaining comic book, but it's like okay, one arc you have like rape being dealt with in a serious manner, which it's very brutal. Okay. And then the next arc, rape is sort of used as a punchline for this like one guy who was like held as like a rape hostage for a gang or something, and it's like come on man, I feel like Garth Ennis really he has sometimes he has no real balance. Sometimes it's like he does like this very cliche, like very grim and gritty, and then next arc it's like this sort of thing. It just doesn't flow when you're reading like all the issues not in a monthly order. It just doesn't flow, but it's an alright comic book. A lot of people are bitching about the new Punisher comic books that they're giving like Frank Castle some sort of like that. It was revealed that like when he was like a kid, he was given some sort of like powers, which I'm like, that's perfectly acceptable. There is no fucking way some like fucking wop with a bunch of guns could take down like thousands of people. I'm sorry, but it's a comic book. It's a comic. Um, yeah, I don't really know what else to talk about. Whatever, fuck off. Okay, I'm back. I just thought of something. So in the new in the new Daredevil comic book series, probably issue fucking I want I think issue 4 of the new of the ongoing Daredevil series. Daredevil he killed a guy. He accidentally killed a guy uh who was like stealing liquor from a store, and Frank Castle. Fuck, I just got off work. Frank Castle, like, he rescues Daredevil because Daredevil got arrested. Daredevil got fucking beat from the fucking from a sergeant or something. Uh, Punisher rescues Daredevil from a police car, which okay, now I have to actually think of something else because in Garth Ennis's Punisher from the 2000s and like uh, issue fucking 12, it was the last issue of a volume of the fifth Punisher series where with Mr. Payback, and Mr. Payback is a really interesting character because it's like, because he's like a vigilante who's inspired from the Punisher, but he's going after like very corporate types, like people who embezzle money from an airplane so that airplane fucking crashed in the ground like some oh shit. So, but at the end, Punisher says this. The reason why he kills Mr. Payback is because Mr. Payback apparently in some of his killing sprees, the bullet goes through the wall and hit a maid. And Punisher's like, yeah, dude, you killed you killed an innocent bystander. So Punisher kills Mr. Payback. But it is so regardless of what you feel about Mr. Payback, it's you gotta feel like a Punisher, you're a fucking hypocrite, okay? Like there is no way. You fucking spending years with all these guns bumming around New York City, there is no way you did not get like a couple innocent bystanders dead, you know? And and then what I'm thinking about is that issue of Daredevil I was talking about, issue fucking 4 of the ongoing series right now, not written by Garth Ennis, but still in the same 616 continuity. When Punisher frees Daredevil from the police car, which is, which is pretty much saying this isn't the Law and Order Punisher from the 70s. Uh, he puts a gun on a building, and that gun is like automatically like set up to sort of like shoot the police car with no casualties, but it's like come on, man. That could have malfunctioned. You could have got some like that's so reckless. You have no fucking right to fucking bicker that, oh yeah, you can't I'm the only one who could do this. It's like, come on, Frank. You have probably gotten a couple innocent people fucking killed all around New York. Come on. Anyway, and in that issue, Punisher was like really bitchy. This isn't, we. I think we're going back to emotional Punisher because he was just having a big whiny rant to Daredevil. Like usually Frank Castle keeps his quips quick. It's like yeah, whatever. But in this one, like Punisher just fucking bitches to Daredevil. Like you thought you were better than me all these years, but now I see you've killed too. like Punisher's like, yeah, you're gonna join me and be a killer like me. And Daredevil's like, fuck no, bro. Like they made Punisher really bitchy in that issue. Like just absolute bitch. There's one thing though. Punisher said that like stealing liquor from a store is not really worth like a death penalty, So I guess I think yeah, what I'm saying, this isn't the very Law and Order Punisher. I do think um year I do think like they've been more cautious to be like, okay, if Punisher's gonna kill people, we have to make him like really, really bad. Like, not just some like random goons. Like we have to make him like really, really, really bad because I think I do think some people like really went on that Civil War issue number 6 where Punisher just kills like two like fucking D level like jewelry thief Marvel villains. People were like, okay, this yeah, a little too far. Like they want there. So I do think there's been more of a conscience to make Punisher like if he's gonna kill people, at least make him like fucking like rapist or whatever. So yeah, I'm not even that big of a Punisher fan, but there is it is a very interesting sort of history. You know, well, there are Marvel characters like Daredevil. I like Daredevil. I still haven't watched an episode. I've always liked Daredevil. You know, fucking love his 2000s comics, but in his 80s and his 90s, pretty much just love Daredevil. Really, just love Daredevil. I still haven't watched an episode of the TV show because I fucking know if I watch one episode, I'm gonna just absolutely bitch about it. All right, I'm gonna get some shut eye. Peace out, you two.